heterogeneous ore. You have a lot of iron ore deposits in Nigeria, which, if it is well exploited, you can use it to drive the steel plants. And we have the Ajaokuta, we have the Delta Steel, we have a lot of, there is one particular project now in Kogi that has been able to establish about 670 million tons of iron ore. So, and of course, when you talk about coal, which is the carbonaceous minerals, it is also all over the country, from Enugu to Kogi to Benue, the belt, even all the way to Lafia in Nasarawa State. Even the one in Nasarawa State is actually of very high grade. It's actually coking coal. So, and we are talking about what we know. We are not even talking about the potential of what we can even get again when we do more exploration, over the geological formations that we have. And we also talk about gold. The entire western flank of Nigeria is actually pervaded with both pegmatites as well as the green schist belt. The green schist belt, that is where you are going to find gold mineralization. Segilola, in Osun State alone, the area that is mineralized with gold is up to the area of Ghana, that they have discovered more than 20 million ounces of gold. Segilola is still about 1 million ounces that they are working on now. The potential is there to discover more, even within Osun State. Talk less of when you now try to project from Osun State through Kogi State. There is a place called, I think we're looking at, I'm trying to remember the place now, Okolom. Okolom is a very, very good deposit. The last time we visited the place with some Australians, they were really amazed. They almost could not leave that spot. Nigeria Mining Corporation worked on that. And also, you look at, so that gold now is also a very good one, especially in terms of foreign exchange earnings. Now, we also have the gemstones now. The gemstones, out of every, the big gemstones are always like, you talk about the diamond. Diamond is not known, at least to occur in Nigeria. But when you talk about sapphire, ruby, and emerald, and tourmaline of different varieties, they are in abundance in Nigeria. And of course, you talk about garnet, which is, you talk about sapphirite and spessartite. All these ones, they are in abundance. And as at now, we are just scratching the potential on the surface. There is no gemstone miner that is known to be deeper than about 100 meters. Whereas you can go to up to 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers where you are really exploiting the gemstones. So the resources are there. The issue is that how do we develop the capacity to harness the resources, to be able to maximize the revenue, to be able to create employment, to acquire skill, and of course export to also earn foreign exchange and be able to improve our balance of trade. So going a little bit into history, we look at the need for policy and regulatory framework. In 2007, under this minister, Obi Ezekwesili, a lot of very, very good reforms were carried out. How do you talk about the issuance of licenses? To make sure that we facilitate that, this body was established. That's the Nigerian Mining Cadastral Office was established. Before the establishment of the cadastral office, you will find out that you could send in your application for mining title, and 3 months, 6 months, you have not even heard back from the issuing department then, which was the mines department. But in developing the policy and putting that and establishing the MCO, it was even stated there that if after 45 days you have submitted your application in order and proper form, if you didn't hear back from the MCO, that application will be deemed to have been approved. Then you can continue with your work. So we kind of put some timeline on when, and of course, also when we did the policy clearly defined the roles of government as well as the private sector. Government should be a regulator, an administrator of the industry, of the solid mineral industry, while the private sector, they are the owners, operators, they are the engine of growth, and it is the responsibility of government in administering the sector to provide the enabling environment for the private sector to be able to thrive and flourish. So we started, some of those reforms also said, okay, you restructure the ministry. New departments were created, artisanal small-scale mining department, to be able to encourage indigenous miners, because it was recognized that actually when it comes to conditions under which Nigerians are operating, and that for the people that are coming in, obviously is not level at all. While you are trying to access your own fund at let's say about 28% and 32%, only God knows what rate it is now. Those guys that are coming in, they are getting their own at 4%, between 4 and 6%. So how do you now get, because when it comes to mining, the exploration stage is actually high risk fund, because you may just spend the whole of the money and you may not be able to see what you are searching for, what you are prospecting or exploring for. And of course, when you also want to talk about the development stage of the mining project, you have to establish a lot of infrastructures and you spend a lot of money. So you need, it is a business that is capital intensive, technology intensive, and it has long gestation period. So how do we get funds, short-term funds, to now, fund that kind of long-term, high-risk projects? So at the end of the day, we thought we should do that time when the policy was being involved is that, okay, let us make sure that at least we open the sector to foreign investors. So the policy and the regulatory framework, when all these things were established, there was an improvement in the situation, because we now had a lot of junior mining companies. They came in and they were carrying out exploration activities. But consistency of government policy, we talked about that. And over time, after the minister that introduced those reforms left office, it's like people that took over, the ministers that took over, is like they did not really understand the significance of some of those reforms. So the issue is that, will they go ahead and continue to faithfully implement those reforms? So, because I remember the minister was constantly reminding, the people that were drafting the law, please make sure that you remove any arbitrary power that the honorable minister could exercise in the implementation of this law. It was quite an interesting thing, because, but later on now, the subsequent people that came in now, they are now saying, look, what is happening? Where is power that I'm supposed to exercise? Because she was always saying, I don't want a minister that will wake up on the wrong side of his or her bed, and then start canceling licenses. So security of the tenure of the, licenses, very important. And when the draft law was ready, it was actually taken to New York as well as Europe and the US for the investors in the mining sector, in the global mining sector, to make their contribution. So we came up with this, regulatory framework, the policy. But now, the problem now is that we have huge potential in our resources. We're talking about a very good, a very conducive regulatory framework. And you are now looking at poor implementation is now creating a lot of problem for that sector. So when you are talking about challenges now, we now have a situation presently now, because when the policy was, being put together, the issue of the kind of constitution we are operating came up. Then there was this topic, we call it location of control. Who should control the solid minerals, the mineral resources in the country? And the control of mineral resources is vested, as at today, in the federal government. Mineral resources will include both oil and gas and, of course, the solid minerals. But now what we are now having, of course, there have been moves by state governments to try and intervene, to try and control the mineral resources within their states. But in the past, there had always been a pushback from the minister. The minister will, most of the time, will take them to the National Economic Council, where governors and ministers and the president, and they will clarify the issue. And a press statement, a press conference will be addressed, where some of the governors will be made to address the press that it is not in the position of any state government to establish by any task force to control the solid minerals in their state. And they cannot, and the state houses of assembly, they don't have any right to legislate on mineral resources control. So, but presently now, what we have is unchecked interference by state governments in the solid mineral sector. We have task forces being set up. An example is Taraba State. Taraba State set up task force, and then they were going around, and then they also imposed a blanket ban on mining in that state. So to the extent that somebody that already already has his own title, you cannot operate your title, you cannot operate within your title area because the state government said no, that you can't operate. I came in from Abuja because I'm a member of the board of trustees. I'm the secretary BOT of Miners Association of Nigeria. We held a meeting yesterday, and I got this very strange information that the state government now, they are now issuing mining permits to miners for 50,000, and that will entitle you to go and mine anywhere. Whereas the people having the title issued by the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development, mining leases that they are paying through their noses to the federal government, they are not even able to operate. In fact, what the task force was doing, especially in Taraba State, was going to the mining site. If they see anybody operating, they burn down the equipment. There was an incident where an excavator was actually burnt to ashes. So that is a huge challenge, that we don't know where control is located. The federal government that issued the license is not protecting the interest of the licensees. So then, of course, the other one also is that we now had a situation whereby the ministry now also increased the fees, the licensing fees. We talked about license holders not being protected in any form from the interfering state governments. But now the license fee was also increased almost by more than 1,000%. Where you are paying annual service fee to the mining cadastral office of about 500,000 per cadastral unit, it was increased to 1,250,000. So some of these actions, these people, that they are far-reaching in terms of the negative consequences on the mining industry. If you go a little bit into the history of Nigerian mining industry, you are going to see something like we used to have pre-oil. Pre-oil, we had mineral resources and agric being the mainstay of our economy. In fact, Nigeria was among the 7 countries that were exporting tin. So, and we already had what we call the Makeri smelting plant in Jos that was even, doing the smelting of our tin on the Jos Plateau. But just one policy, indigenization decree of 1977, drove most of those companies that were operating in the Plateau Kaduna axis away. And that is how that particular industry collapsed. It has not recovered from it. Now, the same thing is just about happening now. The consequences for the industry. Because what was now left was, okay, Nigerian indigenous miners, they are toiling in the field, struggling. They could not access exploration funds, but they will go on their own and struggle, and find money, do some exploration, work on the small area, try and see how they can export and all the rest. And then at the end of the day, you now have a situation whereby the state government is there. Obviously, the increase in the fees now, licensing fees and royalty, will definitely drive a lot of Nigerian miners out of business. And we've held about 3 meetings with the Honorable Minister, and he's very much unyielding. He said, no, that if you are not making money, why are you in the field? So then, of course, access to affordable funding, it's there. We cannot, because any kind of fund that you access at more than, let's say, even 15%, given the long term, period of, expecting, because you do your exploration almost about 5-6 years, and you are just pumping money into the project. And then you go to the phase of mine development. You do a lot of, look at Gilola Gold. They first of all started, after doing the exploration for their property, it was a different group that did the exploration, some junior mining company, CGA from Canada. And they spent $20 million to prove about 800,000 ounces. Then Gilola came and then purchased it. And then they went to AFC, African Finance Corporation, and got a loan of $70 million. They used that one to develop the infrastructures and did a lot of work there. When they matured the project to a certain level, where it could be quoted on the Canadian and the London, stock markets, they went there and they were able to raise another 125 million pounds. That is the level of funding, and that is still a medium-scale mining project. So there is this issue of poor implementation. I talked earlier on that the policy was to make sure that government is regulator and administrator. For now, we don't see the federal government as administering the place very well. And, so those are some of the challenges. We have very huge potential. When we were doing the policy years back, this great man, the late Dr. Pius Okigbo, was the chairman of the policy committee, and everybody was touting the fact that Nigeria is, we have huge potential. And the man warned that we should be careful so that we don't become perpetually a potentially great nation. We have to seize the moment. We must be ready to do. And when it comes to a technical ministry, a technical sector like the mining sector, it is a little bit complex because a lot of factors will have to be taken into consideration. Thank God we had a very good law, but of course that law is not being implemented faithfully now. But there is a competition for global, funding for mining. That is why you see people will go to Ndaba in South Africa. That is a place with very successful mining jurisdiction. They will go to African Down Under in Australia. That's another place. They will go to PDAC in Canada. Those funds and those guys are interconnected, and they have their own checklist of the place where you can go. There must not be any kind of opaque regulatory environment if they want to go there. There must be consistency of policy. There must be ease of doing business. Ms. Adaura from Shippers Council talked about even the cost. Because that is another thing now. With diesel now going for 1,300 and all the rest, the cost of financing mining projects has really gone up. But the advantage that we could hand is that, okay, we could maybe export some of our products and be able to get a lot of hard currency. But of course, there are a lot of, hurdles that you have to pass through when you also want to export. So we definitely, those are the prospects and the challenges as regards the mining. But as regards the gemstone export, I think we can smile a little bit there, because definitely we have a lot of gemstone resources all over the country, and there are a lot of activities. And gemstone, you don't require, all these huge capital. You can do your small scale mining projects, and the truth of the matter is that with the kind of richness of our resources, Nigeria has been consistently supplying the major gemstone marketplace. Whether you are talking about the US, you are talking about Germany, you are talking about India, you are talking about Thailand, they know that, look, Nigerians' materials are of good quality, and they have been supplying consistently. So the opportunities that are in that area now is that, look, because for every gem mine, the production is usually about 10% top grade. About 60% or about 60% medium grade, and then the low grade. But the low grade and the medium grade, they are the ones that we can actually, we're talking about addition of value, we can actually work on them. We can create beads, you can create cabochon. Then, of course, jewelers can also use them in Nigeria. There is a huge market in Nigeria for jewelries. We are very fashionable people. And then we have our own traditional design, which we can always, merge with modern design and produce something that's unique, which we can use to supply our own local market, as well as also use as export. And if you add value to these gem materials, you are adding nothing less than, you are multiplying the value by nothing less than five times. So definitely, when you look at, especially when you talk about high risk, the risk of the downstream in the gemstone industry is very limited, because all you need to do is get your rough material, that is your rough gemstones, medium grade, low grade, do a lot of tumbling, a lot of bead making, a lot of cabochoning, and then you can supply the market. Because most of the time now, what is on sale mostly in the Nigerian market now are costume jewelries that are being imported from China. But our own natural stones, they are more valuable and, even much better than those costume jewelries. Because costume jewelries, we are just, be euphemistic about it. Those are fake materials. But the natural one that we have here, we can get our people engaged, let them work on it, we create a job, we acquire also it's very important. Let us look at, I'm the president of the Gemstone Miners and Martyrs Association of Nigeria. And that association is actually having membership that are really operators in the different chain, from exploration to mining, to processing, trading, and of course to jewelry making, jewelry design and manufacturing, as well as marketing and exporting of the final products. So we have our stand there. Anybody that is interested in being part of that particular industry and wants to benefit from the export, definitely you can always pick our form there and also be part of our group. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Mr. Ajibade, Dr. Nero Ajibade. Thank you. Engineer Nero Ajibade. Please clap for him. Thank you so very much, sir. I've been opportune to visit a blast site in terms of mining of minerals, and I saw what they call a vein, and the vein stretches across the nation. And the vein speaks to all form of minerals could be found in that vein. In other words, we've not even tapped 10% of what we are endowed with in the country. You heard him, he spoke about the fact that no mining of gemstone has gone deeper than 100 meters into the floor, but we have the capacity for kilometers in terms of what we can discover. And again, I don't think he stressed the point I heard when they were having a session in Ibadan around the healing power that is embedded in gemstone. And that's why the world is craving it right now. And again, it's an area I will actually mention to the would-be exporters as the possibilities in terms of how to generate foreign exchange into the country. So on to the next session, which I think is going to be an interesting session. What we have been able to do is to compress the two panel sessions into one to make our time a bit reduced. But again, we don't also want to compromise the benefits that we're going to get from this engagement. So at this point, I will call on the major participants in this particular panel session. It's a time for you to hear from the direct stakeholders. We've heard from the agencies and the government support that we have. But at this time, you can hear from the source. I think what will interest some might be, how do we even start this export business? Probably you are in the import business and you're looking for an avenue to really start. This session will bring that to limelight. And again, I'm sure you also need to know around how finance can be achieved around both the mining and the agri business. So permit me to start this session while I invite the first panelist, Mr. Kunle Ajayi. In no particular order, he is the DMD of Neroli Technologies. They are the pre-inspection agents in charge of Lagos and the West. A round of applause for Mr. Kunle Ajayi. He's been here since morning. And he's also a friend of the family. He's always supporting Providus Bank. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you, sir. The next panelist, I call him Mr. Exporter. If you are familiar with export, you will know him. Probably might not need to mention his name. He's the lead consultant at 30 Impex. He's a good brother and friend. He's been part of Providus Bank and he's been part of me too. Please welcome Mr. Ayemibo Bamidele. He's quite passionate about export, so I need not to say he's written so many books around export, and I'm sure his team is also here. The next panelist I'll call is, call him my boss, the man that taught me this job. Clap for him, please. His name is Ikenna Igbukole. He's the CEO of Mitsum Group. A round of applause for him, please. Also, I would like to call a special personality who is part of this entity from day one. I remember the first time we had a non-oil export, a physical one in Akure. And he's a principal manager, agri value chain at NISA. Please help me welcome Mr. Bayo. Please, a round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much, sir. Then it's not good not to dilute it so that I will not be held responsible that I'm gender biased. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just look at it and I say, even in my team, I think I need ladies. How can I be talking to everybody and their eyes are like this? So we need women to actually calm things down. I'll call on an investment banker. She's actually keen when it comes to export, and she has brought seed fund into export business in this market. She's done deal in excess of like $2.5 billion. And her name is Michelle Okoyomo. She will join us as a panelist too. A round of applause for her. Thank you very much. Then I have a friend, last but definitely not the least. His name is Shegun Ogunlano, Mr. He runs a company called Ijebu Market. And it will fascinate you when he talks about his business. And again, his own point of view around aggregation will interest you. So please help me welcome Mr. Shegun Ogunlano to the podium as well. A round of applause for him. I won't be surprised if he's wearing his t-shirt. Is he? Thank you so very much. A round of applause for him, please. It's going to be an interesting session. I will actually anchor it. And again, to just start, I don't know if the panelists can just do a bit of introduction around who they are, maybe in like 30 seconds, so that at least people will get familiar with their persons. Thank you. I will start from Mr. Ajayi. Thank you. And what the company represents.
My name is Kunle Ajayi. I represent Neroli Technologies Limited. We are a pre-shipment inspection company. We cover both southwest and south regions of Nigeria. Thank you.
My name is Dele Ayimibo. I'm lead consultant of 3T Impex. What we basically do is trade education, trade support services, and trade execution. We are exporters and also assist intending exporters to be able to find their feet and make the business a success. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ikene Bukole from Missing Group. Missing Group is a commodity trading entity with office in Singapore, Dubai. We originate and program most of trade transactions with the big traders like the ABCD traders of this world. We have local presence here, so we're happy to partner with most local traders to originate and also offer FOB funding for their trade. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akin Bayewu. I represent the Nigerian Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending. We're a subsidiary of the central bank. We facilitate the flow of finance and investments to agribusiness across the value chain. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Okoyomo, and I'm a finance and investment professional. Worked in the investment banking space and also in private equity, in the private credit strategy. Worked with a Pan-African private credit firm, and now an independent consultant supporting SMEs with access to credit.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Shegun Ogunlano. I'm the founder and CEO of the Ijebu Market. In a nutshell, Ijebu Market is the agri-supply chain operating system. So we actually get involved in cultivation and supply contracts with manufacturers, exporters, and we also operate a network of hubs, warehouses, and collection points across the country, which allows you to access almost any food and agricultural commodity in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have a robust panelist. A round of applause for them, please. A round of applause for them. Thank you. The first question, I'll direct it to Mr. Ayo. I think it will interest a lot of people. And again, that's the startup space. And the question goes thus, right? It's about how to start a small-scale export business in Nigeria. I know we had the possibility around doing joint shipment from different entities, which was mentioned by the custom representative. We'll hear from him on how we have various incentives, again, that is available to exporters in Nigeria. How to start the business and the incentives that are available. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. In starting export, what I would strongly emphasize, which has been a challenge for a number of businesses coming in, is the issue of readiness. The mortality rate of export in Nigeria is high. Currently, we have less than 1,500 exporters. Even though we have thousands of businesses registering with Nigeria Promotion Council every year, but not many businesses are able to start, and not many people that have been able to start the business are able to continue. And the issue is actually challenge of readiness. A number of individuals and businesses come in like treat export like I'm picking up product from Kano and I need to sell it in Lagos. But the difference now is the fact that I'm going to crossing border. Because I'm going to be crossing border, international border this time around, it's going to add additional level of complexity that anyone coming into this space needs to be aware of. So I would like to define export readiness as a multifaceted concept that involves the ability of a business to successfully enter the export market, sustainably compete in the market, and significantly grow its market share until it becomes established in the market. So you see a situation in which a business successfully enter, probably do one or two transactions, but unable to compete. So after one or two transactions, there's an issue, it's unable to continue again because there was a challenge of readiness ab initio. And the issue is that some of the challenges might not surface on the first transaction, might be on the second or the third. There are a lot of symptoms that you see in a business that you can make it to conclude that this business is not ready. Either you have delays, delay in sourcing product, not delay that happen because of COVID, delay that happen almost every time, delay in documentation, delay in payment, delay in getting buyers, discrepancies in documents, either for clearing, like the speaker from was talking about the fact that you miss the vessel and then you have to pay a fee because you have to put another vessel. Most of the time, the issue will be documentation issue that will make some individual to miss that opportunity or to be on that vessel. Delays, discrepancies, demurrage. Even though we tend to hear of demurrage on import, we also have demurrage on export. Demurrage is the fee paid for the usage of container beyond the free period, while the container is the custody of the shipping line. So, and that happens whenever there is issue with discrepancy, then you have delay. Then, defective goods. Now, the speaker from, I think, NEPC was talking about good being shipped, and then it was custom. The good ship and the good return back to Nigeria because of quality issues. This is very common with commodities. Now, these are all signs and symptoms of lack of export readiness. Some losses, and then, of course, drop out of the business. We tend to see a lot of drop out of the business. You meet people say, I've done export, I did export many years ago, but I'm not doing it again because I did charcoal and I lost money. The issue is actually the issue of readiness. There are different readiness criteria. The promoter needs to be ready. That's the owner of the business. Commitment to want to do the business. The product needs to be ready for export. The pricing must be right also. The staff predisposition must be ready. The purpose for going abroad also is important. I shouldn't be exporting because I'm looking for a business to do. There must be other reason why I'm doing export beyond just making money, because you can make a lot of money doing business in Nigeria. If you look at some of the challenges, sometimes you don't want to do it again because you're asking yourself, you can make this money in Nigeria, so why do I have to worry myself? But if I'm looking for foreign exchange because I'm an importer, or I'm a consultant, I enter a lot of services that I need to work with my partner abroad and I need forex, then beyond just making money, I want to ensure I make the business work, because then I have the resilience to overcome the initial teething problem and challenges that make me to be able to now become among the 1,200 businesses that are currently exporting. Then competence. It's funny that individuals, businesses coming into the space, and you are going to invest 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million, and it's difficult to spend some time and money to learn about the business. It's an international trade, regulated with a lot of information, rules, trade rules by International Chamber of Commerce, guiding different trade finance instruments, from letter of credit to bill for collection to demand guarantee and standby, different instruments. And this keeps changing as the business landscape is changing. So competence then become important. Another very important point in readiness is having representative abroad. Out of all the global trade volume is about $24-25 trillion. Trade in goods, trade in services about $6 trillion, totaling about $30 trillion global trade. Now, about 85% of trade in goods done on open account. What's open account? I ship the goods, send document, and payment is made after. What risk do you see in that? Anybody? Payment risk. I ship the goods, send document, and payment is made after. And 85% of trade in the world is done on that term. 85%. Letter of credit is less than 10%. Bill for collection is less than 2%. Meaning, international trade is done on trust. Now, so what do I do to protect myself? It's either I have a representative abroad or I have a trade finance instrument as a backup for payment, like demand guarantee, like standby letter of credit. If I don't have those instruments, I have to have a rep abroad. A rep, either I have overseas sales representative, or I have overseas subsidiary company, or I have overseas sales branch. If I don't have that representative in the export market, then I'm easily prone to risk of, oh, the buyer said the good is bad. What if he's telling a lie? How do I know he's saying the truth? After I've checked it in Nigeria. But having a rep abroad make it easier. And with the Jackpot syndrome in Nigeria, it has made it a lot easier for you to be able to find a rep. I've done business in China, in UAE, in UK, in Canada, Nigeria, and I always have to deal with a representative in those destinations. Why? Because it then becomes a lot easier to be able to build a successful and sustainable export business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Just before I ask the next panelist, I would also like to ask him, could it be that the buyers, how to get across to the buyers offshore, form one of the major problems that they have, that makes them to have this mortality rate? Or how can they actually, I want to sell a product and I need somebody to buy it. How do I get a buyer for my product offshore? When again, I've not been to China before now, or United States of America. Do I just go online? Can you guide us through that, sir?
Yes. There are different options available to get buyers. A number of exporters, when I talk about readiness, one of the criteria is actually being able to promote product and having this, again, partners or rep abroad. There are a lot of online options. I can use B2B platforms. B2B platforms are very common. Alibaba have issue in Nigeria now. Trade Key, Global Buyers Online. There's so many platforms online that connect buyers to sellers. Then I can decide to do promotion on social media, from Facebook to Instagram. In fact, because of Facebook and Instagram in particular, it's a fantastic tool to actually promote if you have online presence, because then you can easily advertise, and whoever is clicking on the ad can come straight into your DM on WhatsApp to be able to make an inquiry about what you're selling. But even when you get that contact, I will not recommend you reach out directly, particularly if you're dealing with a buyer in Europe, America. Because you're black and because you're from Africa, you're a fraudster until you prove otherwise. I don't know if many people will say, Adele, I reached out to this buyer. I sent him a message, didn't respond. In fact, I was at a program some times ago, and one of the buyers in UK was saying, whenever they see that mail with +234 in the phone number, it's auto delete or spam. Just push it aside. Why? Because of the reputation. Which is why sometimes when there are bad news about Nigeria, people will be tweeting and tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. That's what you are doing by tweeting about bad news about Nigeria. You are telling people abroad that we are not credible. We are not credible. Why is it that when there are good news, we don't like tweeting that? But when there are bad news, because bad news is the news, we tend to tweet that. So credibility is a major challenge. So if even when you do those promotions and you get the contact, it's better someone in that country reach out to them. Even if it's a Nigerian, if it's in that country, they are comfortable. Why? Because they can trace such an individual. I can use online promotion through Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I can decide that I want to buy data. There are data, if I'm going to sell a particular product in a country today, I can get the data of people buying in that country. It's expensive, but I can get it. Now, meaning if I have the data, buyer, phone number, email, website, I can first of all do my due diligence on that business and then reach out to them. Again, in reaching out to them, engage someone in that country, preferably. Now, if you don't have a representative in that country, you can get a professional representative, freelancer, a lot of online platform, Upwork, freelancer, a number of all these platforms. You will pay about $650 to $1,000 and get someone that will represent you and can visit them and represent in that country professionally. And of course, it's going to get a commission and get a fee for his service. But the fact is that even if you don't have a friend or relative in that country, you can still get a professional who will represent you. What that does is that it also gives the buyer comfort that, oh, you have a rep in this country, most likely you're serious. But don't do that if you don't have a website. The baseline of due diligence for your business is checking you out on your website and due diligence on the business on social media. And then you can decide to incur all the costs of going abroad. The ticket, the flight, the having a booth, feeding, accommodation, transport. That's a lot expensive, but if you're able to afford that and you fly into that country, attend a conference, attend a trade fair, and get to meet them in person, that is the most viable option. Now, the NEPC representative make a very important statement. When you are going abroad for trade fair, don't go to sell. Some people go to sell because they want to recoup the cost of going abroad. Go with the intention of getting a contract, of getting a representative, of getting a partner, of getting a rep in that country. Go 2-3 days before and leave 2-3 days after. 2-3 days before to be able to go to the market where the product is being sold, to be able to get to know and meet people. 2 days after to be able to go back and meet the people again and be able to strike the deal before leaving the market. I hope I answer your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What is called to this, his response is credibility, patriotism. I know abroad in kindergarten, they always teach them even patriotism. I think again, we should all be the messengers, because sometimes if you see the way and manner at which we are spoken about, just because you are from a place called NIG, right? It's tough to deal with. So again, I would also want all of us to change the narrative. I hear a lot. Nigeria cannot be this again. From a Nigerian, where else will you call your home? I will pass the next question to Mr. Egbukole, and it has to do with what Mr. Ayemibo mentioned now, which is the mortality rate of exporters. Could it be that this mortality rate is caused by the bankability of exporters? Because I know a lot of exporters just want to jump into the business. Because there is money in export, all of us will move to export. You know, when we were playing ball in primary school, all 11 of us would be around the leather ball. We just run without taking position. Is that the syndrome? Or why and how can export business be built and in a bankable way? That's the question to Mr. Egbukole. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Biodu. I think the earlier speaker has actually set the tone, right? And just leveraging on what he said, I'm going to wear my banking cap as an ex-banker, turn to a trader now, so I'm on the other side. And I will tell all traders, for your business to be bankable, you need to understand there are two main risks in commodity trading, be it metals, be it soft commodities, be it oil and gas, anything commodity trading. Payment and performance risk. And if you want to break it down, he asked the question, payment. I'm sitting in Singapore, you sit in Nigeria. I want to buy cocoa from you. And what's the risk? Oh, if I send you money for the cocoa in Nigeria, you might go and buy a new car, and you're not going to send the cocoa to me. And if you send me the cocoa, I might come up with flimsy excuses, oh, the quality and all those stories. If I'm supposed to pay you at 6,000 or 7,000 per metric ton, I'll tell you, oh, take a haircut, 3,000 because it's already shipped. And maybe the bank has already financed you. So that is see where the payment and performance risk. The performance risk sits with us here, who are the traders, who are sourcing it. Then the payment sits with the buyer. From a banking perspective, how do you mitigate this? How do you make your business more bankable? Right? As he mentioned, he spoke earlier, saying about credibility of the off-takers. I can remember back in the days when I was at the bank, somebody would tell me, oh, there's an LC from a bank in Malaysia. What's the rating of that bank? Anybody can issue, a community bank can issue an LC. So I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to finance you, right? So you need to say who is the credibility of the bank issuing that LC to you. If it's maybe a commercial bank, you might require maybe an investment grade bank to add confirmation to that LC. And what does that mean? If, for example, now the person in Malaysia that has issued a letter of credit to you, whether it's confirmed or unconfirmed, it doesn't matter these days, does not pay, or the bank goes bust, how would the Nigerian bank who financed you get his money? But if you have an investment grade bank who have added confirmation to that LC, then the Nigerian bank can go to. Then the Nigerian bank will begin to say, okay, yes, I'm talking about when there's a letter of credit as means of payment. Now, I have comfort. The payment risk has been mitigated. How do I mitigate against the performance risk, which sits with you as my customer? What do I need to do? You have a contract for, let me say, $1 million, which is about over 1.6 billion naira today. And you have barely 200 million to do this. And you come to the bank, you expect the bank to give you 1.4 billion to finance that. You must begin to, first of all, show good faith. With your 200 million, there are different structures to say, okay, you have sourced, moved the cocoa from Elisha to Lagos and put it in a warehouse whereby the bank will say, okay, I can finance you 80% of what is in this warehouse. When the bank gives you that money, you go buy another one until you begin to ramp up, aggregate to the volume of the tune of the $1 million of your contract. By so doing, the bank would have seen, oh, they are not at risk. If anything happens, you go bust, they have the cocoa, they can keep a hold on. Making sure that, of course, the Q&Q has been looked at, the collateral managers has been there to monitor that. Then you also, as a trader, you must begin to look at starting small and growing big. So there's a lot of risk in commodity trading, and truth be told, there's also a lot of money to be made in commodity trading. Today, if you look at oil, today, the crude price has gone up to $100. Same also the price of cocoa. Price of cocoa before was ranging between 2,000 to 3,000 and jumped to 10,000. Now it's coming down to about 6,000 or 7,000. What has happened? What are the indices? What is going to happen in next season? Is it going to remain there? Is it going to come down? Is the price of... So you need to put your ears to market information of what is happening globally that will drive the price of this cocoa. It's not only just cocoa, it has to be sesame seed, ginger, cashew, all of them, rice. So from a banking perspective, me as a banker, if I'm to put my, or as a financier, for me to put my $1 into financing your commodity, because when you finance commodities or finance, commodities, you don't look at the balance sheet most of the time, because the client might not have a robust balance sheet to guarantee you funding that. You must look at the trade you are financing, the transaction itself, following the cash. How does my money comes back? So if you follow the cash and see, oh, this is what the client is buying 1 bin of cocoa in Elisha and is selling it to Mr. A in Singapore at this price. And is the contract fixed or is it a floating price? So these are things you need to also know. If you don't have the expertise when you are giving a contract, maybe you sit down, as you mentioned, even if the person you sent email to has given you a contract, you must have knowledge of the terms of the contract. Don't just go jump on it. And at the same time, looking at one of the things that is happening globally today, or happening in Nigeria today in terms of exchange rate, is even a good time now for you to go into export. Just close your eyes. If, for example, in January, you went into the market to buy products for export, and dollar was 1,001. And by the time you have aggregated it, you have a contract, and the contract is $1,000. You have bought those products at 800 naira. Now, by the time you are getting your dollars now, which is still $1,000, you know how much profit you have made. You'll be smiling to the bank. So even if the bank is charging you high interest, you can withhold that. And also looking at what has happened to the price of crude, price of fuel, everything going up. Truth be told, it's just not only in Nigeria, it's global. But the truth be told is that most of these products outside go to Switzerland, all the best of chocolates they produce, none is done there, or the beans are coming from West Africa. So you having a good record of your product, having a good record of your quality, having a good information about your off-taker and the credibility of off-takers. Yes, they might have, it's not only in Nigeria there are fraudsters, there's also fraudsters abroad. So it's never everyone that gives you a contract, let me say for open account, the basic thing you see most of the small traders, you see someone gives you a contract, it's okay, oh, I'll pay you 10%. When you now go to the bank, borrow your money, do all the dirty work before they pay you the balance 90. But as he mentioned earlier, if you have a rep offshore, or you have a president, a partner offshore who can help you get those funding. Like for us in Medicine Group, we have office in Singapore, we have office in Dubai. Most of our rates will get letter of credit issued to our Singapore entity. And our banks are happy to discount those LTCs and give us funding. So funding of our transactions here, buying product FOB here is quite easier for us because we have created that credibility over the years. But as a starter, these are things you need to begin to do to give your local banks comfort, having good knowledge about your off-taker, having good knowledge about your business, putting your products into the social media, because these are things also both the buyer and the seller and also the bank needs to check out from you before they decide they want to finance you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Takeaway from this is structure. We underplay visibility. Permit me to use this Yoruba arrangement. They use it a lot where I am from. Bole Kaja. You know what that means? Just anyhow kind of structure. Yeah, just anyhow. Let's just do it. Because everybody is doing it, let me do it. And the two speakers have spoken around being deliberate. Now, you're doing international trade and there is no website. Some don't even have phone. We've started. How do I even know you? In core banking, we speak about KYC, know your customer. How am I going to get to know your person? Where do I search your name? How do I have access to you? In as much as financing is not done at the back of statement of account, experience is core. A lot of us don't even want to learn. I have seen my brother making dollars. I can also make dollars. So it is important that we look at credibility, patriotism, as well as give direction in terms of the learning. So this will take me to the speaker. Again, the panel I wanted to say. And again, that goes to Michelle. For people who are with bankable arrangements, they understand the commercials, and they know what it takes. What exactly is the pathway to enhance funding? How to enhance this funding? Through adequate funding, enhance their funding to do more of export business. Do they have to just rely on the commercial banks? Or there are other pathways? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. There are other pathways. I was actually going to talk about laying the foundation when you want to raise money. So I think it's very important that you understand what your financial needs are in terms of your business stage, your financial profile. So pre-profit, post-profit, because that would then determine the type of financing instrument you should adopt, whether you're using debt, equity, trade finance, or grants. So financial profile in terms of the health of your balance sheet, in terms of how leveraged your balance sheet is, in terms of, if you have very strong off-takers, as Ikene had said, and then you can leverage trade finance solutions. Now, yes, the banks are doing a whole lot in the exporting space, but you have like a huge pool of foreign investors or a large investor universe that cuts across development finance institutions, impact investors, private equity space, and private credit. So private credit is an emerging strategy under private equity, and they have huge appetite for trade finance or export-related transactions. In terms of what you could see tickets from like as low as 50K up onto $1 million. You could see ticket sizes from as high as $3 billion to $50, $100 million or even more. Again, depends on the pocket of funding. So for your DFI, you have your IFC, you have your Afrexim, you have your AFDB, your Islamic Bank. You also have like private equity firms like where I used to work, African Invest Private Credit. You also have different entities and private other private capitals across the continent. In terms of how those funds are being deployed, so some of the investors can invest directly into these export opportunities, but we are starting to see a huge collaboration amongst the banks and these external financiers. So just before I ended my term with my previous role, we structured an opportunity with a cocoa trader with a local bank where the bank was sort of a pass-through, providing us with some sort of comfort. So I'll just step back a bit. So in terms of the collaboration, you can have collaboration from a bank level and you have collaboration from a company level. So from a bank level, you will find private equity investors or DFIs who provide trading lines or export lines to banks to on-lend to these opportunities based off of their risk appetite or their credit mandate. And then from a transactional point of view, from a company level, you will find companies who will go into a bilateral arrangement with these private equity investors or private credit investors or DFIs, where they basically invest in these companies, but they cede operational control to the banks. Because banks, if you think about it, banks are well structured to handle trade finance transactions, from the credit infrastructure to the collateral management, to the collection, to the domiciliation. Most of these investors are non-banking financial institutions, that they don't have that infrastructure to handle trade transactions. So you will find a lot, which was a similar transaction where I structured with a local bank for a cocoa trader for about $2 million. It is we provide the financing to the company, and the bank would then provide an instrument as a credit enhancement in the form of a promissory note or a bank guarantee, and they would have their own bilateral arrangement with the company, which entails, whatever the bank needs to be comfortable with the transaction. So, having the domiciliation, doing checks on the off-taker. They could also have an asset debenture, but sometimes it's usually based on the transaction, so they evaluate the quality of the counterparty. They also would have a collateral management structure in place, and then they would cede control to the bank, like the investor will cede control to the bank, and then they will provide like a promissory note or a bank guarantee. So we are seeing that partnerships happening, and some of the trade mandates that I have right now, are from investors from the European market who are looking to support export opportunities across the non-ferrous metal space and the agri space, and the tickets could range from like $3 million to $25 million. In terms of the interest rates, they're looking at so far secure overnight financing rate from about plus 5% to 8%, and then we also have stages that they invest. They could do pre-shipping and they could do post-shipping stage. Now for the pre-shipping, they look at things around, you have to have security, so a collateral management structure in place. But for post-shipping, they would finance against the shipping documents and also pre-qualify the off-taker. So that's really around what is attainable for exports financing. But I think just to touch on what Ekena had said, I think that as an investor, what we really look at is the bankability of a project, or the bankability of the transaction. So I'd just like to summarize, for you to find not just, there's capital available, so it's really positioning yourself for that capital to make sure that the capital is a fit for you. So what are the key things? I would summarize it and say, one, you have to build a solid business model or a solid business operation. So things around risk management, understanding the business risk, payment risk, performance risk, credit risk. You need to understand all of that and ensure that structures are in place to mitigate that. You also need to think about corporate governance, making sure that there's transparency in how decision is made, having the right management structure in place. Also value addition, because we find that a lot of the players in the export space are just trading. For me, when I'm identifying an opportunity, I really like players that are vested in a value chain, not just trading different commodities, but also want to have some value addition outlook in the long run, which means expanding, for instance, the cocoa value chain, as opposed to just exporting cocoa beans. You're looking at cocoa liquor, cocoa powder, cocoa cake. Because again, the reason why most African countries are where we are is because we export low value and we import high value. But if we can add some additional value, we can export and generate more income. And then things around being regulatory compliant. And then the second one is the strength of your trade transactions. And I think that Ekena also spoke about that. And three things that are very important would be, one, counterparty. I think the strength or the quality of your counterparty determines the trajectory of your transaction. So you need to make sure that you have credit-worthy counterparties, you also need to make sure that you have very diverse counterparty base, because there's also issues around concentration. And then you also want to look at, in terms of, the kind of counterparty. So if you're doing certain markets, you want to skew towards listed public entities. And if you're like doing, you want to do like end users as opposed to brokers as you grow. And then the second one would be your contract terms, making sure that there is proper allocation of risk ownership between yourself and the off-taker. You want to make sure that you've addressed the payment risk, whether cash against documents, but LC structures to protect you. You want to make sure that you have pricing mechanisms that can allow for movements in pricing, because these are things that investors look at. And then the last thing under this point would be export markets. So we've seen a lot of investor mandates that I have are really more skewed to certain markets. So the Europe, UK, Americas, they can even accept cash against documents on some of those, as long as those off-takers are verified. But for certain markets, their preference is an LC. And again, the LC has to be from a bank with a very strong credit rating. And I think the final element is impact and sustainability. So what does that mean? You have to be able to define what your theory of change is, and you have to find a way to align it to sustainable development goals, whether you're addressing food security or equality, gender equality. But it's very important that you begin to identify what your impact is, and you can explore focusing on people, planet, and profit. And you need to find a way to identify, define, monitor, measure, and report, because these are things that, in terms of volume of capital that is available in the impact investing space, is over $1 trillion. So that's, when people say there's no capital, I really disagree. There is capital, but there aren't that good enough deals that are structured to absorb that capital. So it's important to not just look for capital, but make sure the capital is the right fit for you. For instance, the agri value chain, transparency and traceability are key elements for impact. And even, there are premiums that are being paid just to make, when your cocoa or, for instance, whatever produce is sustainable, there are additional premium. I think for cocoa is like 200 to 300 per ton on that. So thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause for Michelle. That's quite insightful. You can see that it's more or less like a deliberate action from us. Do you choose to do it? There is a saying that the young shall grow, but it shouldn't be at the expense of the old. In other words, no bank wants to lose money. If you're not befitting for my funding, I probably will not just do it. Why? Because banks are not Red Cross Society. They give funds, but what we have seen in the market is we've seen different exporters come in, or permit me to use the word metamorphosis, change different names and come in different directions to attack the same financial institution. In other words, we need to be deliberate around what we intend to do. We need to put ourselves together and present our position in such a way that fund provider will want to provide funds for us. But again, I would like to go to Mr. Ogunlana Shegun. And my question is, a whole lot of younger generation, they look at what he is doing as the business of the old. Why would a young man just even go into agribusiness, aggregation? What's the interesting thing? What gets you going in the business of aggregation? And what are the challenges you faced so far? Because while you were climbing up, I said, I'm sure he's going to be wearing his t-shirt and the Jebu market on his chest. Why are you displaying this? It's not oil and gas. What is that attractiveness? What is pulling you and making you do that business? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. So, in a nutshell, my background is chemical engineering. I worked in production, and I actually understand flow and systems. And when you talk about machines, you talk about Germany. When you talk about finance, maybe you talk about Switzerland. When you talk about manufacturing, you talk about China. So, I actually believe that every country actually needs to actually have a singular purpose. And from that singular purpose, you can actually design several things from there. So I looked at Nigeria and Africa. I was like, okay, what advantage do we hold that we can actually compete every other part of the world? And that connects to agriculture. And of course, my background is chemical engineering. I work in production. I understand process. I understand systems. So when we actually have our agricultural products come out, we can actually build on that and drive production. And with that, the sciences, with that, you have the engineering, with that, you actually have design, with that, you have content. And with that, you can actually have several parts of the country, which means if someone sits in a village, you don't need to actually bother so much about asking yourself, what direction is the country going? You look at that product and see, what can I move? And for every part of Nigeria, you have one product, you have one commodity that sits around them. And those are the things that I now thought about. Okay, if someone is sitting in one village, how can we get close to that person? And that's how we actually form the network and the systems of all those warehouses and collection points that we have in almost every part of the country. If you go to Jabilamba in Adamawa, if you go to Mubi, Mutumbiyu in Taraba, or you go to Ailero or Tamboa in Sokoto to KB and everything. So we have the country covered. And so we actually have all these aggregation points, and these are points where it's close for farmers to actually bring their agricultural commodity to. Normally their markets happen every maybe 5 days, once a week, every 4 days. But the hub is actually open insofar as we actually have some aggregated contracts from some manufacturers or exporters. But again, it is not as even as simple as that, because many times also you have to go into these villages, you have to go into these farmlands to get these commodities, and that's even where some of the challenges of even sourcing the cocoa you're talking about, because even when these people are in these farmlands, we have to, release money. You have to also trust some people to release money to go deep into those places to bring those things out. For example, there's a place called Ibaji in Kogi State. Ibaji is a very, very large area, and they are around something called geographically alluvial area. So it's very, very fantastic for paddy and everything. But during the rainy season, the roads there are bad. So these people have to come with boats and everything. So we have to strategically look and say, okay, should we position around Ida? Ida is a port town in Kogi State and everything, to be able to collect some of these things. So those are the dynamics of the aggregation. And that actually sits as a point where you can use to even move yourself in the agricultural region. For example, like someone says, if you say you want to set up a poultry, learn to sell eggs first, right? So same as an aggregation point, you can be collecting from farmers and selling from them. Then with that, you can start having your own branded products. For example, look at like ginger. You take ginger, you take turmeric, you have to split it. That's some level of basic processing. So those are some of the opportunities that are actually available in the aggregation. But again, if that person is sitting there, say the person is in Kafancha or Kachia in Kaduna Day and everything, with us sitting here, we are actually able to build the systems to build the aggregated contracts that allow that person in Kafancha or in Kachia to be able to actually produce more. And when the person notices that, okay, farmers are not even producing the quantity that he needs, he can also confidently go into cultivation because he has off-take contract. And like she said also, that once you also have some credible customers who actually have needs, I think I can authoritatively say that there is almost no major rice mill in Nigeria that is probably operating at 60% capacity. A core rice mill, I think their capacity there is probably for you to have a truck entering like every 1 hour, a 32 metric tons truck. So, but again, most of all the rice mills, there are sometimes some rice mills most rice mills in the country are doing on and off, which means the inputs. That's why if you notice the brief from Alhaji Aliko Dangote of late when he was talking about his rice mill, he was also talking about they supporting the people that will be farming and cultivating those things for them. So there's and again, another opportunity that opens up in the agricultural space is the part of also providing services for farmers, which means maybe some equipment and machine services that the farmers can actually be handling, and you are credible enough to put it in shape and everything. There's still so much more, but let me talk about the challenges before I drop the mic. One, the challenge of the metric system, because when you go to some other parts of Nigeria, being southern part like Cross River, you hear them using washing hand. That's their normal measure. You go to the north, you hear Mudu. You go to some other parts, you hear maybe like all these Ibarapa going to Kwara, Oke, Ogun Bag. And you'll be surprised that a state like Kano State, when you buy in different parts, Mudu is not the same. They have different Mudus in different parts. And you're like, how do you, so we probably even need to even have our laws to probably have a standard metric system that uses the kilos, so that once I'm buying something, I know that, okay, how many kilos am I paying for? So that's even one. Another thing also security. Security is even two ways. There's internal security within your collection hub to ensure that the people that are there are moral enough to do what is right. Because even if you say you use technology from today to tomorrow, if human beings want to still circumvent things, they will still find their way. So having that, then even the external security. I remember someone making an order from us that if they went to supply onions to Senegal. Okay, that's not a problem. So I contacted one of our largest in Goronyo, that's in Sokoto there, and put everything together and let us see how this thing will move. And Alaji, please, I need to get the dynamics of it moving to Senegal. I said, Megida Shegun, this one is difficult. I said, why? He said, okay, the truck that will move it will after first come from Maradi, Niger Republic. It will come in to load. But again, because of the militants that are between Burkina Faso and Mali, I need to actually send some money. So this money will be changed to CFA and it will be given to those militants. Then the truck plate number will be provided to them, which will allow two-way trip, which means the truck will pass, then go and drop, and they'll be expecting it to pass back. So, and I was like, man, you put so people's money in this one, I'm not doing. So this, and the thing is, these are concerns. So there's security concerns, there's metric system concerns, there's also issues of finance, because when some manufacturer requests for some things and you need to buy, you now have to look at the difference in the prices and the margin, which is not making, which is not driving enough profit for you, because we all know NPR. Then the recent one is the low value of the Naira compared to the CFA, which means people that are coming across the border, be it from like Cameroon, Niger Republic, and all those Chad, to come and buy things like dawa, that's sorghum and the likes, their buying power is much more than the Naira. So you are also struggling to compete. So there are several challenges, but the opportunities are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun. Thank you so much. Again, that would take me to the Nigerian incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending. And one of the things around it is people are talking about possibility to borrow. Someone like Shegun will also need some support and funding. However, does he have a required support in terms of collateral item that will let him be able to do that? What kind of support can you provide for borrowers from NISA's perspective? And how is this done in a way as to allow exporters have access to funds across banks? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So when you sit in a panel with very skilled panelists, they would have said everything. They will not leave you with the mic. So I'm just going to try to speak to a few things. But first of all, to say that it's commendable what Providus Bank is doing. They're solving a problem in Nigeria that has to do with the lives and livelihoods of people. Because as we sit today, if we do not export, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, we either export or we die. I mean, it's just what it is, and it's staring at us in the face. It's affecting everything. It's affecting school fees. It's affecting everything known to us, right? It's affecting our abilities to change our cars, our ability to buy houses. It's affecting everything known to us, and now it's beginning to affect our ability to feed ourselves, right? And then I'm looking at Nigeria, and I come from a region where my region was built on the back of food. Cocoa, built Western House, it built Cocoa House itself, it built roads, it built all sorts of things, right? But then I also look at that, the landmass we have, we look at the entire country and all of that, and then I see that as opportunity, because if somebody told me right now that they dug the floor and found gold right where we're sitting, I wouldn't even be shocked. That's how blessed my country is. So there's the opportunity, and then there's the second thing I look at is motivation, right? Are people motivated? Yes, there's the spirit of hustle in Nigeria. We can get anything out of anything. And then the third one then is finance. So if you're bringing opportunities, you're bringing motivation, and you're not able to link it with finance, then there's something wrong. Michelle said there's a lot of money, and she mentioned only impact space, but the entire funds under management is about 100 trillion as we speak, right? And then they are all looking for where to put that money. And why isn't it coming to Nigeria? Because of risks. It's that simple. It's the risks that they perceive. Everybody wants money to go out and money to come back. And if money is not coming back, then they better just sit and be looking for an investment that will get them at least 5%. If I'm looking at an investment of 5%, I'm looking at 32%, and I'm wondering, whoa, some people are just begging to get 5%, some people are 32, 35% in the same globe. Why aren't they moving the money here? They've got to solve things. So I look at it from the agribusiness space, and I'll start by saying, why isn't investment coming here? First of all, you look at it from the value chain and the systemic thing. So first of all, being in Nigeria, all the problems I've heard today, and I listened to all of them, the port, insecurity, whatever it is that I've heard today, and all the things you've heard is the reason why you're not getting funding. It's that simple, right? If I'm looking at it in simplistic terms, that's the reason why we're not getting funding, right? On the other hand, that's at the systemic level, and individual level, the company level, we're looking at how well structured are you, what kind of risks are you taking, how vulnerable are you, how much would they put trust in you to get the money out. And it's not just about you wanting to get the money back to Michelle, it is also about you being able to get the money back to her at the end of the day. So all of those things put together now makes everybody not want to lend to you. So if we're solving those problems, we need to solve all the problems we had in this room, right? And then we need to increase the capacity of everybody to access financing. And what Nestle has tried to do is to solve all of those problems. I was listening to Adora when she spoke, and she spoke about logistics and the rest of that. I imagined after she spoke that, what if majority of the things that we're moving them by rail, and all our food is going by rail, so that every morning when we wake up, we see the trains in Lagos. Now, all of those things will require financing, and that is where we come in to try to de-risk that space and bring that financing. What will happen if that financing were to happen? Have you ever asked yourself what happens to cashew? I'm not saying the cashew nuts now, I'm saying the fruit. When I was younger in Lagos, I could buy cashew fruits and just suck them off. Right now, nobody sees them in the market anymore. It's just not there. Where are they? Have you asked yourself? They're on the floor, in the farms, in Kogi, in Oshogbo, and they are rotting on the floor. The birds are eating them, and all of that. And that's just because the cost of moving it to Lagos is more than the value of the fruits itself. So they just take the nuts and then they export it. So if we're able to solve all of those problems, and Nestle is then able to bring financing, we're able to solve the problem of quality. And solving the problem of quality, I mean, there's always a lot of reliance on government to solve the problem of quality. But then there are self-regulatory institutions in most countries that have cracked these things, where we say that we who export in Nigeria, this is our lives and our livelihoods. If you are going to export something that is substandard, you will not get to the ports. And this is where we stand. If we're able to get that kind of structure in place, right, what then happens, people start to believe all around the world that if anything is coming to Nigeria, those guys don't joke. Nothing is going to cross if it's not that quality. What does it do? It increases our market, but in addition to our market, it increases funding to us. So if I'm going to just try to be as quick as possible with this, but if I'm going to say, what do? We provide guarantees. And what we tell Biodun is that if an exporter doesn't pay, we will pay. And then what we charge for that is about 1%. That's bold, because if we charge 1% for that, it means that I can only afford for 1 out of 100 exporters to fail. Then I'm out of the money, or out of pocket. And that's why a lot of what we do is to try to de-risk, bring people together, work on structures, work on alternative ways of getting the financing done, build trust. And those are the things that we do. Other people that also work in our space, we have Nexim, they also work with Providus, they work with everybody. We have the investment banking side of things. And that side of things deals with the early risks of business. A bank isn't necessarily there to help you start off your business. You need to get to a certain level of cash flow, because it is said that 50% of businesses that are just starting fail, and all that you're going to pay them is your interest, right? So that if 50% of the businesses fail, most banks will follow them. So we've got the early stage financiers in the space, and we also provide support to them in that space. So I guess that's it, if I'm going to be brief, but that's what we do.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you so much. One of the sector that is yet to be fully tapped in terms of trade finance support is insurance. In larger markets, insurance forms the basis for collateral securitization of funding, which again is a thing we really need to look at. So it's a lofty idea. The NISA is putting a support together, 1% support in terms of de-risking. I think it's just above and beyond. So we can give it up to them. A round of applause for them, please. Right, I'll go into those who have been funded, and then they are faced with some challenges, maybe around the flow of the commodity from one end to the other. I know Custom has spoken, the Shippers Council has spoken around the ingenuity created to make things seamless. However, I want to yield to Mr. Kunle Ajayi of Neroli to just give us an insight of what exactly Neroli is into in terms of support for trade finance business from Nigeria. Thank you.
Excuse me. Our role in the process is quite important, at the same time quite simple. Now, for exporters, before September last year, you needed to come to a PIA office to pick up RFI and all that stuff. And when it's done, you needed also to come to our office to pick up your certificate. But along the line, we sat with CBN and let's find a way to make this better. And we came up with what is called SVP, Stakeholders Verification Portal, which is used by us to move NXPs. Now, what it means now is that when you open your NXP, you don't need to go to any PIA to go and fill a form. So we are cut off some time there. Just go on to the system. Once you get your bank verified NXP, you get a notification from a PIA saying, give us details of this export, where we're going to ship from, to inspect and all that. And then it's done. At the end, you don't need to go to PIA again. Once your transaction has been approved, you'll get a notification and you print out your certificate from your desk. So this has cut off time. But where we have challenge is this. Exporters most times have given this process totally to agents. And this is part of the problem. Now, when you open an NXP form, it is expected that you as the exporter will put in your email address and your phone number. Because when we're going to trigger those information, it's going to go to that number and that email. Unfortunately, if you put an email and phone number that's not registered on your team, you will not get anything. And then exporters are saying, oh, there's a delay. There's no delay. The delay is caused by you. What your agents should do is very simple. Once we appoint on a day to inspect, let them be available, let the containers be available, and then the necessary documentation. If we do inspection, I don't submit the final documents, there's nothing we can do. We don't have a mechanism to track a delay in that in our own system. So, and I said this, there are times that experts have called personally, oh, our job is being delayed. And I will find out that, look, your agent is yet to drop the document. and they will shout. Now, and I've told them, look, when you give, see, export is a serious business where everybody that is involved need to follow step by step. The agent you are giving your job to has maybe 20 other jobs to do. When they've done an inspection, they might have other things to do, and they won't bring those documents on time, and you are losing time. So I've said, look, I don't know how experts to do it. Either they take that job on themselves to ensure that once they do inspection, the job is not done. Very vital is the submission of those documents with which we push to the CCI level. And there's no hiding about the CCI. Once it is generated, CBN sees it, you see it, we see it. So that's not like, oh, it's been delayed. Because we understand the implication of these things. A delay in that process, one, you can lose your contract. You can incur demurrage. Like was said by Ada, the ship can go. So there are so many considerations why we always say, look, we have, call us anytime. We have inspectors to come and do the job. Where the issue might be is the documentation, where we have no control over. That's basically what it is.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so very much. I'll just leave our participants to just give one word, but I'll direct it to a man and a woman so that we'll make it brief, right? And the reason why is, we have to be seen to be gender, what do you call it now? Sensitive. So I'll go to Michelle to give final words in terms of how to get things running in export business in Nigeria. What do you think can be done differently in just 1 minute? What do you think in the entirety of it? We've spoken about finance. What again do you think can be done? Do we really look at the people? And again, would you support that more people should go into this export on moral obligation grounds? Just a bit of final words. A minute will do. Thank you.
So I think that it would be more of a soft issue. So like you said, a lot of people are going to export for the commercial benefit. But I think we should look at it also from the social benefit, because if you look at the entire value chain from the smallholding farmers to the aggregators to the local purchasing agents to the exporters, the least beneficiaries are the farmers. They do the bulk of the work. So we have to have that at the back of our mind, that let the wealth flow from the exporters all the way to the farmers, because that way it's most sustainable. And then the other one should be, we should not just stop at trading, we should actually push forward to value addition, so that we can actually help with export promotion and really help with stabilizing the country. So,
Michelle, thank you so much. I will also yield to Mr. Ayemibo. Again, we've spoken around wastage in cashew. I think Mr. Bayewu touched on that. In your opinion, what do you think can be done in just 1 minute around that, in a way to build a sustainable, maybe industry that can actually prevent wastage? Because I know we waste a lot of tomatoes, we waste a lot of corn, to the extent that some are even still importing corn from South America to do their thing, and we have more than enough. But because we consume all, again, it goes to the leather industry too. We consume all, while Louis Vuitton is still looking for leather, and we have sheepskin in the north. What do you think can be done differently in this market to promote export? Thank you.
I think it's a reorientation, actually. There was a time I was coming to Nigeria, I was at Itro, and I saw a drink. The drink was coconut water. I was very fascinated at coconut water. People are bottling it. And the cashew nut juice can be a product. Some people are drying, what's the name? Drying fruit, a lot of dry fruit in Nigeria right now. So there's so much opportunity within that chain. I think just a reorientation to understand the fact that in an environment where knowledge is being given attention in deserve, nothing really is wasted. Now, nothing is wasted. Everything, if it can be repaired, if it can be replaced, it can be recycled, or even reuse rather. So it's just a change in orientation of the fact that, look, this is being wasted. What can we do differently? What can we do with it? And the fact that we are now having, like I said, the coconut water and a number of other juice coming up, that's an opportunity I think we can see within the space, or probably drying it. But because it's acidic, I don't know how the drying would be like. But I mean, the scientists and the food nutrition is probably be able to find answer to that. Thank you very much.
Round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, for being part of this panel session. I know there might be questions. Do we have any? They can take 3. Can we have the 3? A woman, a man, and another. I can't see any other hand. Okay. I think there is. Okay, you can pass the mic. Let's do the woman first. Then any other question aside the 3, we can write them and get it through. Then there's another person at the back there. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to appreciate Providus Bank for this year's summit. I must say that this one is very fantastic and solid. I want to appreciate all the panel and especially Mrs. Adaura. Thank you so much for that session. It was wonderful. And I appreciate all the panelists. Thank you so much. My question is not a question per se, but it's just a challenge to the management of Providus Bank. Mr. Abiodun and his team, they are always doing a very good job. You know, one thing I have learned is in banking sector, you know, when the marketers, they go out, market people, bring people to the bank, and at the end of the day, you know, they promise you heaven and earth. In short, they can even promise you anything. They will bring you. When you now get to their bank, you know, you are now on the other side of the table to them. You know, yeah, there will be a new song. Yes, the song will just suddenly change. I appreciate the export people in Providus. But I have a question for Mr. Olugbile, who is representing the MD. Please, sir, why are you people always promising things you cannot sustain? Yeah. You know, I'm talking out of experience. I was banking with a particular bank before Providus Bank approached me. And we can support you. We can take you from this, take you into the sky, place you on the roof, and all the rest. You know, now, like Michelle said, there are some things that you're supposed to meet when you need a facility for your business. And even after meeting that, what else? You want me to go and bring my grandpa? The man is dead now, but they will still ask you to go and do that. Please, not just Providus, it's not particular to Providus Bank, but this is Providus Bank time. And I need to say this. If you know you cannot support our business, stop promising, giving us empty promises. Please, live up to your words. One thing I know about the banking sector is the integrity of words. In those days, when people are still banking, when a banker tells you, I am coming by 6 a.m., they are going to be there then. What do I mean? Keep to your promises. Stop promising us. You know, you know how you do your things. You only attend to the big ones. And you are forgotten. When you look at the statistics of exporters in the country, you look at those big ones that you are attending to, they are not up to our own size. They are not up to our number. And you know there is magic in number. So please, sir, Mr. Olugbile, when you get to the management meeting on Monday, please tell them they should stop promising what they cannot do. Live up to your words. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Benny Jewere. I'm a lawyer. Mike, I wished Adora was on the stage. So I'll ask her and the gentleman from NERSAL a question. They can take it jointly. Like the gentleman in blue said, there's a perception of Nigeria from outside. When they see those emails, delete, 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 delete. Now, locally, Nigerians who want to go into exports, well, first of all, Nigerians are terrified of government agencies. Everything that was said here, beautiful. Providus, fantastic. All the monies, the value chain for finance, great, all in place. But when that container gets to the port, your blood pressure goes up. Because when it steps into the customs sector, you have to have your doctor next to you, checking your blood pressure. Basically, you're terrified. First of all, on the roads, coming to Lagos or Port Harcourt or Warri, you're going through government agencies, park. Basically, people, they are terrified. So, how are we going to change that narrative for the local people to make government agencies, Shipping Council, NERSL, more quote-unquote customer-friendly, Nigeria-friendly, so that people will be happy. So they don't say, I beg, I don't want to go near those people, I beg. Let me just do my thing locally. So that's my question. Thank you.
Ibo. But I would like Ms. Adara to respond to. He was asking, do you pass any question to her? I think you did.
How do we get these agencies customer-friendly so the people are not terrified about coming to Shippers Council or NERSL?
Guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Agreed. I must sympathize with you because your experience is not far-fetched. It's something that happens on a daily basis, and we continue to push and try to deal with the issues as they come up. So you're very, very correct. The average exporter is having a challenging time. Some know how to find their way around the system, but it's not so for everybody. And unfortunately, that amounts, like you said, the negative perception. Nobody wants to come and do business here. So it rubs off on everybody. We keep saying it's not just about you or I, it's something that at the end of the day, it has an effect. Perception, impression, investment environment, and we're all paying for it one way or the other. So back to your question, really. We have always believed that if there's no consequence management, things will continue unchanged. So we have advocated, and we have also, put that forward to even PEBEC, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, after the Executive Order 01 was issued in 2017, mandating agencies to streamline their processes, adopt a default approval, somebody mentioned it here, single interface for inspection, like you go to our airport, you see so many agencies trying to inspect the same suitcase. Some of us saw a video that went viral a few days ago at the airport. So arbitrariness, such high-handedness contained in that executive, we have advocated that there must be consequence management. If officials of government, if they are not punished for such arbitrariness and misdemeanor, the malfeasance we experience will continue. So, for example, a customs officer who delays your cargo for no reason or no just reason, and at the end of the day, the shipper has to bear the cost of demurrage and all other delays associated with that. It ought not to be. So if that happens, there must be a system where the customs officer pays for it or he's sanctioned for it. And that's back to consequence management. What sanitized the developed countries we all cite, it's not because they are religious. It's because there are consequences. And because there are consequences, even when everybody is watching you, you dare not do the wrong thing. So we must adopt consequence management. And I bring it to the SA, who is here. from the VP's office. That should be factored into that executive order, or going forward, the next action plans. There's a BFA Act now. That's already an act of parliament and already an act of law. So we're all aligning with it. There's a BFA Act. So if you're not familiar with it, please go and read it. It's called the Business Facilitation Act, to guide the ease of doing business. Now you can hold agencies accountable. It's an act of law. But like they always say, the black man, if you put something in a book, he never reads it. We rather complain. That is a tool to empower you, because now it can be challenged in court. So government agencies now are bound to do certain things for you. They are bound. It's not longer whether they want. It's an act of law. So if you're not aware, please be aware now. And I can always say, push that envelope, push it, test it. If it doesn't work, we get feedback. But as long as you don't try it, we're not going to know whether it's working or not. We can just go around complaining, oh, this is not working, this is not working. The video that went viral the other day at the airport, it went viral. Everybody knew because she used the tools she had to record it. The agency has come out with a statement, but still something has to be investigated. If you look around it, for those of you who are familiar with, shipping, both across the airports and the seaports, something went wrong there. Because if her cargo is for export, she's accompanying her cargo, she didn't have to go through that. She didn't have to pay that money. And if it's part of your law, it should be on your website. It should be out there for the public. You don't hide things. And then, sort of now laying an ambush for a customer. That's what some do. It's like laying an ambush, waiting for you to fall into that trap. And then they'll reel out all the laws and all the penalties. That's not what we want. It's not we versus you. So put it out there in public. Put it on your website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll take the last question, then we'll now take the response at the same time, so that at least all will be synced. The last question, I saw someone. I think that the man wearing white shirt. The other questions can just be communicated. We'll get back. The reason is just to see how we can manage time.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my question is, how can we implement technology for the layman that didn't go to school to be able to export nowadays? Because technology is taking over the world. And if I wanted to import something from China, it's very easy. I go to Made in China. We are bypassing scamming, we are bypassing a lot of things. We have the NIN, we have the BVN. But then again, people are still having issues dealing with Nigerians. This is because the government is not giving us the adequate support to be able to bypass our market abroad. So my question is, what kind of technological implementations can help the layman that didn't get education to export his markets overseas and make money? Thank you.
I think the panelists will provide a response. Okay, you can use the mic, sir. They are all on.
To Madam that said that bankers should not overpromise. Well, before, I was a banker too, and I worked on this management as well. So, Madam, what I would say is this: as regards this export, there are two things. One, exporters should know that this is serious business. And I've said this to so many experts I've met. Proper record is important. What financiers will work with is proper records. And I believe for a bank like Providus who throw this kind of forum, it means they are serious about financing exports. You can't be calling this kind of forum, I'm not interested in funding. But at the same time, if you are going to fund, it has to be somebody that, yes, is prepared for them to support. So I would say that, yes, it might seem as if banks at times do promise things, but at the same time, you also need to be very, very prepared. And also for the banks too, I've also noticed also that some of these exporters, the kind of structures you have in place to fund does not fit in exactly into their model. So also for the banks to understand them more, such that you provide the kind of structures that can best fit for them. Not all these people in export can bring out tangible collateral, which is very sure. So banks too will have to continue being innovative and creative to find a way around some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there is a comment from Mr. Ayemebo too.
No, I want to comment on the question around the government agency. I'm not holding brief for them, but sincerely, there has been a lot of improvement. I don't know if there are other exporters here that confirm that. Between sometimes late last year and now, I've done like 4 or 5 shipments, and quite frankly, we can clear within a week and get the product to the port, such that if I come into the port on Monday to leave the port on Monday, by Friday I can be inside the port. So I'm just talking about the fact that what the MPA representative is saying, Shippers Council, thank you very much, not MPA, Shippers Council, is very, very correct. So I understand the challenge that he mentioned about pushing the government agency, but in terms of the issue around getting your product cleared, getting stopped through the port, you know, and it's also important we mention it because, you know, there was a time I was on a TV station and they asked the question, I was talking about this and they were surprised because it's like, even when it's getting better, it's like we are comfortable talking about it when it's bad. Because I don't hear a lot of people talking about the fact that there are no congestion again in Apapa. You don't get to hear that in the news. I'm not getting anybody to hear about the fact that you can easily clear your good at the port today. I use Lily Pond, so I can talk for Lily Pond, that the customer officer talk about. And that within a week, you can get the product in, do all the paperwork, because all of them will come and do inspection together, and you can get your product to the port in less than a week. I think you can clap for Shippers Council for that. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not holding brief for them, but I'm talking about my experience as an exporter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for the panelists. Please, let it make it resounding. They've actually provided information, vital information, to all the questions that we have in our minds. At this point will be the end of this panel session. We've merged the two into one. We'll have a picture session right now. And thereafter, we'll just have one more presentation on our product line that I'm sure will interest everybody. I'm sure you must have heard about Providus Premium MasterCard, what it can do to you. It's not going to last more than 10 minutes, and then the lunch is served, and we'll do our network session. But for now, let's just have the picture session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Easy. Should I help you? Now, this will be having the presentation from our e-business team to just sensitize us around our card product. It's going to last for 10 minutes or less to just give you insight on this product. It's something you can get on the spot if you want. Thank you very much as you listen to Larry. Larry is the head of card business. He leads that team, and he will give you insight into the card business of Providus Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Biodun. Let me say happy customer week to everybody. And why I'm saying that is because I'm seeing some complaints and I'm asking myself, just keep your customers happy, and some of these complaints will be out of the way. So if you bring up my presentation, that will be good, so that we can have this for about 5-10 minutes, and I'll be out of your way. So Providus Bank, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is creating opportunities for our customers through digital platforms. one of those that we have done well is across all of our products, digital products that we provide. One of them is on the cards business. Please, I need it to come up now so that we can take this. But while this is coming up, I'll just, go on. By the way, a very major thing that we noticed in the market, sometimes in 2016, 2017, when we came on board, was that Nigerians must be seen, handled, and facilitated as a global citizen. What that means is that every Nigerian must be able to interact globally in a way that it shows that they understand what they're talking about. And I'm quite happy with what I've heard today within the export, part of this economy. So I have about 4 different lines, but I'll just go through them in a flip. So if you can go to the next one. Within the group, these are so many things that we've come up with. You can stay here, I can speak to this, then, we just go through it. Right? We call it our e-business product compendium. Right at the first one is what Biodun mentioned. That's our Platinum MasterCard. That card is like your gateway to every part of the world. It's fully contactless, which means anywhere you are in the world, you can make payment seamlessly. So sometimes, when I have opportunity to take maybe a few days vacation, and you see every other person touching and tapping and they're moving, and you see some of us from Africa have to dip our cards, and they ask for your PIN and all of that, and you're like, am I different from everyone else? Okay? So what we have done is we've created something that can rival any card in the world. And the good part of it is fully Naira. So what that means is that all you need to do is have NGN in your account, take the card with you on your trip, and in a month, you can spend up to $3,000. Now, what we have done within this space is to support everyone's movement across different parts of the world without any hitches, especially when you have need for card transaction to happen and it's not a weekday. For those who have USD cards, you agree with me that you cannot just transfer from one USD to another. So what we've done is to create this particular product, working with the central bank, to give Nigerians a card that is fully NGN and yet can support international payments. Locally, if you have iOS, you have anything, around subscription, that card will support that process. Just by the side is what we call the classic MasterCard. It's just a bit lower to what the Platinum can do. Of course, both of them are fully contactless and they can support international payments. Last year, we created the first of its kind product I want to tell in our market. It's called the Amphi card. Amphi because amphibian means you can, stay on land and in water. That card is the first card in our market. Our market means Africa, Middle East, and Eastern Europe. That takes collection, and you can also use it for payments. What we have done within that space is today, you get to a merchant, it tells you that the POS is down, or there is no light, to charge it. I look at Ijebu market. So, as he was saying, Ijebu market, what was coming to help Ijebu Gari? By the way, so okay. So I look at the Ijebu market. From some of the things he was mentioning, it means that his agents, his people are going to be on the go. So they can't carry POS everywhere. What we've done is we've created a business debit card that you can give to your agents. Let's say you run a business there. All that needs to happen is once they scan that QR, it gives them an account to make payments. And the system recognizes that payment for just that transaction. That means you don't need a POS. You can collect, still on the card. Let's say the person has collected like 10, 20, 30 deals, and you need that same person to make payments, all right? You can authorize. You can take that card, also dip it in, put a PIN, and make a payment. Now, this is very good for SMEs. This is good for agency, people that do collection. You don't need a POS already. With your card with you, you're doing everything. That we have created. Sorry, go back. I just want to stay on this so that everything is here. We've also created for our black card holders, for those of you who typically in a year you need to have transaction worth maybe 100,000, 200, 500,000, $1 million. we've created a World Elite MasterCard. When we had this card created in 2019, before then, it was only being used by the Royals and Emirates. And we told MasterCard, our customers are Royals. I want a card that can rival anything anywhere in the world. And that was created for us. It's called the World Elite MasterCard. It's a USD card, fully functional. You can do up to $2 million in a year. If your transactions are along those lines, you can get that done. Just down there is the newest one that we just created. It's called the World Card. The World Card, we looked at it, it's not only when you travel out of Nigeria that you should have a premium card to use, right? So we created something called a dual currency card. What that does is that once you are here, the card draws from your Naira. If you are abroad, the card draws from your USD side of things. So it's fully functional, both sides of the house. That has been created. So we'll be launching, for those who will be with us next month, we're launching that to the market. Okay. Now, I think the last one that I have there is the exclusive. The exclusive was created for the 1% of the 1% of the market. So, all right. So what we've done here is, you know, as people are moving through the world, we know that there are certain type of cards that need to come out. I once had a customer who I think she was on the queue, and the attendant spotted the card she was holding and found out it's a black card. He said, "Excuse me, ma, you are not meant to be on the queue. You're holding a black card." And you know, she went just right the number, sat down, they brought coffee, brought tea, and all of that. It's like, just because. So we feel, you know, like someone said, once you're black and you're from Africa, everybody just look at you one way, right? So what we've done there is that these are black cards that are fully functional within MasterCard system. That MasterCard themselves, we've made a mandate. It must be supported such that it must not fail. Where there is a failure, we hold MasterCard responsible, because we feel Nigerians must be accorded such. So we've created the World Elite exclusive, and that will also be going out next month. Now, just after it is what we call the DECA. So at some point in Nigeria, you go to eat shortly after COVID. All right, people write account number on sheet of paper and give it to you. You can pay here. So what we've done is that we've fancifully created something that can rival anything anywhere. You can just put it right at the teller's point, or you know where they're paying. People can scan that to use NQR. We did that through NIPS, or the accounts that have been designated for that particular teller. So all that you do is transfer. Now, at the back of that, we've created something called the Providus Notify. So the major issue was, and it happened to me, I transferred, and the next thing they said, they are waiting for Oga to confirm. I sat down, I bought water, 20, 30 minutes, we will call the man, you say, Oga, they confirm, I'm coming. And we stayed. I needed that thing, but that's not sustainable. So what we've done is that at the store, you can now give a small device. In fact, our DECA goes with the device most times. Or you can simply download this app. It's a Notify app. The moment the transfer hits our system, is here on the app. What that does is, even telco, if the telco is down, email is down, whatever it is, once this is up, which will always be up most of the time when there is transfer, the attendant can confirm that that transaction has been received. And you know the better part? It doesn't show the balance on the account, so the attendant don't even know what Oga has. All he needs to do is just be able to confirm that they have received balance. There are all those ones where people say they came to buy from us with fake alerts. It's no more there. This is directly to the bank account. That is out of the way. And since we've created that, we have quite a lot of customers, you know, that have come on that. And I'll go to the very last one just before that's our POS. Okay, so what we've done within our POS is that we've created it to have 3 layers. The first, you can take a card. Second, you can take transfers. Same thing, of course, like we all know. The third one, which makes it very fantastic, is that it can give you instant settlement. What does instant settlement mean, typically? Because you have people that are selling. Turnover is what matters to them. They've been able to sell what they have now. You don't need to wait till tomorrow. As they are paying, you're seeing it right on the system. And you can pay from what you have collected at a point, which means that the next 5-10 minutes, you are buying the next thing, okay? What that does is that you can maximize your returns, you can create the profit that you want, and you can move with that. Of course, the internet banking is there. We've created something called the soft POS. We'll be introducing that very shortly. And what we're doing is we are looking at security as a way to ensure that, because today people say They've just harvested my card. We are coming. In fact, we're almost there. So what we've done is that very shortly, Nigerians will be able to have something called a card without your card pan. We are already issuing for a few of our customers. What it does is that the card number on your card, do you really need it when you go to ATM? No. Do you need it when you go to POS? The answer is no. You only need it for online payments. So why do we put something in front of that? So we're changing that. We've just gotten something. We call it Digital First. So we had approached MasterCard, who is one of our partners, to give us a special right to issue cards without the card details. The best you will see on your card will just be your name, and that's all that needs to be there. Every other thing, you can pick that right from the mobile app. And at that point, we know that you've actually authenticated the customer. He's now at his mobile app. He can move money, and he can also see his card details. Thank you very much. That's what we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so very much. I might not know all the cards, but I know the Platinum MasterCard. Because I travel a lot. And it has saved me in so many currencies. And I wanted to save you today. Please, we can issue it at once. It's outside. Just give them your detail. They will give you one. And then you will thank me later. A round of applause for Providus Bank, please. Thank you. Then there is someone who said, when Larry got to the podium, he said, he has a testimony. It's as if we are in the church. Please, can you give him a mic, please? My friend here. He's got it around the cards. Because the truth is this, it's hard to really get the FX. And when you need it, you probably might not. Just imagine you are in Togo. And then from Togo, you are going to Canada. From Canada, again, you are going to Germany. Different currencies. How do you switch? So he was telling me the story around what happened in was it Gabon, right? So let's hear from him. Like some people will say, have you met me before? Have we ever spoken? Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to do this. Okay. You're welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I've had a great time. It's really great to be here. Thanks to Providus Bank and thanks to all our amazing speakers who have delivered so much value. My name is Favor Adeleke. I'm the founder of Kiki Farms Global Limited. I just got back to Nigeria this morning and around 1 a.m. and I'm here right now. I was sponsored by World Bank and International Trade Center in Abidjan for over a week. We're discussing around how we can facilitate trade among youths, and things like that. So before I traveled, I had to change a lot of Naira to Sefa, so I'm not stranded over there because they paid us, all of us, in dollars. And some Nigerians, about 2 of them, traveled, they didn't change enough money, they thought that their card is going to work while they are there, right? So I would mention the banks, but they stayed in the hotel for like 5 days, and they were like, keep trying how they're going to get Sefa to pay because in their hotel they don't collect any other currency. They tried their cards, we went to banks, they speak French, they don't understand anything. We tried POS, it was not going. And I just like, okay, do you have a card? I said, I have one card, I'm not sure if it will work, but let's try. And I just go back to my hotel, I brought out my Providus Bank Platinum card. In fact, when they told me about that card, I was like, is there anything special? I don't really need this card, but I just got it in case because of I do dollar payment. And I tell you that with that card, we withdrew over 700,000 Sefa at once. Like, I was surprised. There was no glitch. And it's like, it's a Naira card, but I got Sefa. I was like, how did they do it from dollars? I just got the currency and I got debited. I checked the notifier, I saw everything, and that was how I was able to save those people. If not, I don't know how they want to pay for their hotel. I don't know how they want to get back to Nigeria. But it was crazy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Have we met before? Do you know me? You can see that it's a direct testimony. He doesn't even know me. I've never met him. So you can get one. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a time well spent. At this juncture, lunch is served. But before then, I will just call on the CRO to give his closing remark. We are quite grateful at Providus Bank for the support we've gotten so far. And again, to my dear friend and sister, we are so sorry for where we have erred, and we will try to provide some support where required. I'm sure the CRO has met with you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you next year by God's grace. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful time, and I don't even know how to mention all the names that are here. But thank you so very much for those people that have left, and even all the people that are here. The passion at which the session went was quite tremendous. And I can assure you, on behalf of my MD, we are also very passionate about export. And personally, I'm going to look at the case that she raised. Lending is quite interesting. And like he said here, all we need is documentation and information. If information is made available to us, that's why we're here. Our role is financial intermediation. We get from the surplus, we give to the other side. But we must be mindful of the fact that that fund that is going out must come back. Until we're able to see that pathway, we may have a bit of here and there. And if you recall, when I was talking at the beginning of this session, I said we have a very flat structure. We don't sit back in the office. We want to engage the client so that we can understand the structure very well. And if you look at export, actually, it doesn't follow just one pathway. It's not one cap fits all. You have to know the structure that goes for a particular request. That's to address that. But at large, I want to thank all the participants that came. The Shippers Council, thank you so much. Export Promotion Council, we thank you. The essay to the President, from the beginning to the end, we thank you so much. The President of the Gemstone Association, we thank you. And also, I used to call him an XP. Thank you so much also. Nasa is no more here. We thank you very much for being here. And everybody that's here, Mr. Ayemibo has always been part of us all of the time. Each time we're having a seminar, even virtual webinar, he always shows up. For the entire participant, we want to thank you. Let me say again that Providus is open unto you. It's a friendly bank to you all. And the testament also shows we started this bank as a commercial bank in 2016 precisely. That's about 8 years or thereabout. And as we speak, our balance sheet is in the region of 2.3, 2.4 trillion. You made it to happen because we've been working together. And so we cannot downplay on customers' need at any point in time. So we assure you, let's have your needs. We sit down together. Where we, for example, some discussion have gone in today, areas of collaboration, things that we don't know. We also need to ask people that know so that it can guide us when we are making our decisions. So once again, we want to thank every one of you on behalf of my managing director, Walter Akpani, and the entire management of the bank. Thank you, and as you go, we pray the Lord will keep you and you get back to your destination safely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please make sure you grab something as you go on your way out.